Hey guys, what's up? Now that you've chosen your host and you've gotten your server ordered, next step is actually going to be setting up your server. So if you use Vulture like I suggested last video and ordered your server through there, you should now have a server management page that looks something like this. So now what do you do from here? You're not really sure. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is install Putty. Putty is actually a program for Windows that's going to let you access your server remotely. So here's Putty. I will provide this link right here in the description so that you'll be able to download it yourself. We're going to be downloading this one right here, the putty.exe for Windows on Intel x86. If you want to actually install it on your computer, you can do it right here. Alright, so after you get Putty installed, which is actually very straightforward, you'll have a program like this, which I'm going to go ahead and open up, and it should look like this. So what you're going to want to do in Putty is actually copy this main IP address that's going to show up on your Vulture server page, and you're going to copy it into hostname and hit open, and it should be default port 22. Alright, so it's going to come up with this, and it's going to say login as. You're going to want to log in as root if you chose your operating system as Ubuntu 14.10, which is what we're going to be using for this series and what you should reinstall your system as. But your default login should be root, and the password is actually going to be this password right here. But for my purposes and to keep my server secure, I went ahead and changed the password. Alright, after putting the password in, which by the way, while you're typing or when you copy it, it's not going to show up in order to keep it secure. After you type the password in, it's going to show up like this. So, now you're actually in your server, and it may not look much, but you're able to do whatever you want to your server from here. Alright, so now that we're in our server, what do we do from here? The first thing that you're going to want to do is actually set up the user that is going to be in control of the Garry's Mod server. So you're going to type in here add user, and then the name of the user for this, I'm going to do gMod server. Alright, so it's going to come up with its output, should select something like this, and it's going to ask you to enter the password that you want this user to have. So the password that we want this user to have is going to be whatever you want, obviously, but I'm going to put gMod server. And it's going to ask you to enter it again. And when it comes up with these right here, you can just go ahead and hit enter. You don't have to fill those in. And when it says is the information correct, go ahead and hit yes, or type in Y and hit enter. And now the user account's set up. Alright, so great, we have the user account set up. What does that mean? So what you're going to want to do now is actually log into the user account. So to do that, we're going to close this window and reopen Putty. And reconnect to the server. And it's going to say login as. We're going to log in as the user we just created, which is gMod server. It's going to ask you for the password. You're going to enter in your password, and now you're into this user. Alright, so one command that is awesome for this is the su command. So su basically lets you switch users in the virtual server. So users are basically just like Windows user. Their root user is like the admin on Windows, and users under it, like gMod server, is just normal users. They don't really have permissions to do things except within their own user folder. So we're going to change users to the root user by typing in su root. This is going to let us do some admin commands. You're going to enter in the root password, and now you're the root. So the first command we're going to do in the root is add user gMod server. I'm sorry, this thing keeps popping up. add user gMod server, and we're going to add that user to sudo. And what sudo is basically a command that allows you to do admin commands from a normal user. So we're going to add the gMod server user to basically admin and hit enter. Alright, now we can go ahead and type in exit and then enter to exit outside of the root account and go back to our gMod server account. First thing we're going to do is sudo apt-get update and enter in the password for gMod server. Oh, you're gonna have to actually log in, log out, and log back in of the user for the sudo to take place. I should have actually done that before I even changed over to gMod server, but it's fine, whatever. Alright, so now we're gonna do sudo apt-get update, type in our password. Alright, so basically what this command just did is update the package system for Ubuntu. It's just a good thing to do for all your servers, all your VPSs when you first set them up. So now that you've got that done, the first thing you're going to want to do is create a folder for the gMod server to be in. So I want to go ahead and do mkdir, which that means make directory, and then gMod. Alright, and we're also going to have to make a folder for Steam, so I want to do make dir Steam. Now what you're going to want to do is cd Steam, which is change directory Steam, and you're in the Steam folder. Alright, so you're going to want to do the wget command, which is, it stands for like webget. It basically just downloads something. So it's going to be wget, and I'm going to have this this link right here in the description. In order to paste the link, you're just going to right click and it should paste it after you copy it. Again, this link will be in the description. So you're going to go ahead and paste that link after wget and hit enter, and it should download that real fast. And next you're going to want to untar it. So the untar command looks like this. It's going to be tar minus xvzf steam cmd linux underscore linux.tar.gz. This right here, it'll tell you that right here. So you're just going to type that in, then hit enter, and it's basically, tar is basically like a zip, but for Linux. So we theoretically just unzipped the download that we just downloaded. And you're going to do the ls command, which stands for list. It's going to list everything in your directory. So these is what is currently in the directory. We're going to do /steam cmd.sh. So basically that means we're going to run this script right here, and we're going to hit enter. It's going to, this is just opening Steam, and it's going to update everything. And once it's open, we're going to be open in Steam right now. So we're going to type in login anonymous, and basically what anonymous is just the anonymous user of Steam. It allows you to download stuff without actually having to log in with your account. Alright, so after you've logged in as anonymous, you're going to want to install the gMod server. But first, you're going to want to force install dir. So it's just where is it going to install it, and you're going to type /home/gMod server, and for gMod server you do whatever you did your user as when you did add user /gMod. Alright, now we're going to do app update 4020. 4020 is the Garry's Mod game number for Steam. So when you do app update 4020, it just downloads Garry's Mod. And now it's going to download the game, which should only take a few seconds, about 30. Alright, so after this finishes, we're going to go ahead and type exit, and that's going to exit the Steam. Alright, so the Garry's Mod should be installed now. You're going to type in cd ... which is going to send you to the previous directory. You're going to type in cd gmod, then ls, and there you go, right there, Garry's Mod's installed, and you can go ahead and start your server with source ds underscore Linux, and then no, we're gonna do run this one right here. So that's gonna run that script. Negative game Garry's mod plus max players 32 plus map gm flat grass. And there you go, the server's just started. You'll know that it's ready to connect when it says the valve's been activated. VAC secure mode is activated. Right, so you can actually connect to the server right now using this IP right here, your server IP that you connect to SSH with. Alright, so the server is now running, but it's actually not set up and configured the way we actually want it to run smoothly. So we're going to go ahead and hit Control C, and that's going to quit the server. And we're going to go into some basic configuration. So the first thing you want to do is when you're in your gMod folder, cd Garry's mod. And basically the way this file system works is the same way as your Garry's mod on your local computer is going to work. So if you look right here, this file structure right here is pretty much the same as this file structure. So you still have your Garry's mod folder, which is what we're going into right now when we did cd Garry's mod. And if you look at this structure, it is the almost identical to this structure in your Garry's mod folder locally. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is edit the server config. The server config is located in the CFG folder. So we're going to cd CFG, and if we type in ls, you'll see server config right here. So to open this, first we're going to have to install Nano, which is basically like a notepad but for Linux. So you can do sudo apt-get install Nano. And since I already have it, it's going to tell me it's already installed, but for you, it'll just install it for you, and then you'll be ready to roll. So now we're going to do nano server.cfg. So there's going to be nothing in this server config, although there's actually a server config generator online that will help you set it up and whatnot, and I'll link you to that if I can pull it up real fast. Alright, so it's going to look like this, and right here, and so you're just going to want to fill this out the way you want it. For this, I'm actually going to leave everything the same that it is right now. I'm just going to change host name, and I want to change this to test gmod server. And for SV password, I'm going to leave that as none, and then I'm going to hit generate. So that's just going to generate this long server config, which we're going to select it all, copy it, and paste it into here with a right click. Alright, so now that it's pasted, you can use the up and down arrows to scroll around and actually change stuff in this. So let's say we wanted to change the server name after we already generated it. We can just go in here and change it to kidding, not test gmod server. Alright, so we've got everything how we want to set up. You might even want to add a password if you want it to be private before between friends. So we'll just make that password underpants, and we're going to do Control X, and it's going to say save modified buffer. You're going to hit Y and then enter. So now the server config's been set up, and you can move on to step 2. So step 2 is going to be deciding, what game mode do you want your server to be. Of course, you have the default game modes, which are, if you go into the game modes folder, which is first cd ... because you're already in config folder, and then game modes, cd game modes. Your default game modes are Terror Town, Sandbox, and Base. For this tutorial purpose, I'm going to actually only be doing Terror Town. I will show a Dark RP later, possibly, but we're going to be using Terror Town. So we're just going to go ahead and cd ... cd ... and we'll be in the gmod folder like we were before. So what we're going to do now actually is do the command that we did earlier to start the server, except we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to use a program called Screen, and basically what Screen is it kind of like opens a new window, so to say. And so that way your server can be running in the background while at the same time you're editing your server. So just to make sure, we're going to do sudo apt-get install screen, and it should already be installed, but if it's not, it'll go ahead and install that. So now we're just going to type in screen to open up a new window, and we're going to hit enter, and then we're going to run our server run command. So I'm going to do /source_ds run game Garry's mod, and for some extra let's see if I pull this up. For some extra commands, we're gonna also do port 27015. So that's how you can change the server port. I would just leave that at just default, so I wouldn't even change that. But if you wanted to, you could change that. Another thing we're gonna do is game mode, and we're gonna make that Terror Town. So it's negative game mode Terror Town. And max players, this max players is with a plus. We're gonna do max players 32 and map flat grass. Alright, now it should be running. The server should be running TTT on flat grass. So there you go, the TTT is now set up.